When I took office a year ago, I wanted to reshape the department from being a passive custodian of broken buildings and stalled projects to one of being an economic delivery unit in South Africa, tasked with rebuilding public trust, infrastructure and economic momentum. We came up with a bold vision, and that was to turn South Africa into a construction site and to anchor this vision to attract additional private sector infrastructure investment during the term of the 7th administration. That is why today's briefing focuses on what we've done in the past year to lay this groundwork, but also to build a strong foundation for the department that will allow us to turbocharge infrastructure investment and delivery, as well as reimagining our public assets. During this briefing, I want to particularly provide an update on 4 areas that we have intensely focused on over the last 12 months. Firstly, investigating failed or mismanaged projects and understanding why they failed. 2 is repurposing public assets for public good. 3 is cleaning up our systems through lifestyle audits and ghost employee detection. And 4th is reforming the expanded public works program. Firstly, with regards to investigating failed or mismanaged projects, when I arrived, it became clear that we needed to take a deeper dive into why so many projects fail to get off the ground and fail to be completed on time. We wanted to investigate some of the most glaring examples of waste, mismanagement, and dysfunction, not to assign blame for its own sake, but to learn from what is going on and to put a stop to it, as well as to hold people accountable. The first was the Telkom Towers debacle, where government had previously spent 600 million rand purchasing that complex between 2015 and 2016 to house the SAPS National Head Office, as well as other departments, but it had not yielded any returns to date. Instead, however, we've continued to pay security to prevent further vandalism of the building, unsuccessfully I might add. The draft investigation that I have now received reveals a significant loss in terms of the value of the property owing to a series of damages to its infrastructure, and also detailing whether the project is still viable at all. The report should be finalized by the end of July. We're just tying up some loose ends. And where individuals have been held or implicated, we also will not hesitate to act and refer them for criminal prosecution. The second investigation that we looked at was that of the PSA oxygen plant project, managed by the Independent Development Trust on behalf of the Department of Health. This was meant to be a flagship health infrastructure initiative built with donor funds. These was from the Global Fund, providing 60 hospitals with on-site oxygen capacity. Instead, it became a cautionary tale, with the draft report confirming many of my suspicions that I had outlined at the beginning. Despite the fake news campaign, AI-altered voice notes, and social media bots, which sought to discredit the investigation, members of the board and myself, we fought on regardless. The last round of interviews will be completed with stakeholders in the coming days, and the report should be concluded by the 25th of July. We intend to release both reports publicly in our quest for transparency and hand them over to law enforcement agencies for criminal prosecution. The incoming IDT board will also take over the process, which was launched previously to conduct lifestyle audits on senior management, and that will continue in earnest when the new board meets next week. Furthermore, I also expect the board to fully ventilate the alleged irregularities with the IDT's office lease, which has now come to the fore, as well as present a financial turnaround for the entity to my office. Turning to repurposing of public assets, at the same time, we've also begun to reimagine how the department thinks about public assets and property. For too long, the state has sat on thousands of unused buildings and parcels of land that are not being put to either economic or social use. This while government departments are in some cases paying 120 Rand per square meter in private leases, while our own buildings cost 26 Rand a square meter. This is ironic because demand for these assets has never been greater, but our buildings sit empty. From human settlements to social development to provincial governments, we want to ensure that the state's assets are used in partnership with various spheres of government and entities. Since taking office, we've taken important steps to turn idle assets into functioning community infrastructure. Let me give you a few examples. So far, we have transferred 17 properties for the use of shelters for victims of gender-based violence and substance abuse, including 2 in Malmesbury this morning. In the preceding 5 years, the department only managed to transfer 1. So in 2 months, we've done 17. In 5 years, it was 1. In Nkandla this week, working with the local municipality and Premier Ntuli from KwaZulu-Natal, we handed over a previously unused government piece of land in the town that will now be used for local economic development and job creation. I'm led to believe that that project had been discussed for a number of years, and we finally managed to get it over the line. In Cape Town's Castle of Good Hope and the Union Buildings in Pretoria, we are ensuring public access to public property while providing safe and humane shelters to those who have been removed from those properties, including access to medical care, work and personal development programs. I look forward to further unpacking the groundbreaking initiatives that we will be taking during the budget this afternoon, especially on how we are going to be restructuring the property management trading entity and its assets to become an investable portfolio for private sector funds. So effectively, we want to run and gear our assets like a property asset portfolio that is listed on stock exchanges. This will mean that the state will finally start to generate revenue from its assets, either through co-development models or through investment into a property fund of A-grade property assets. There is strong demand, both domestically and internationally, for this sort of vehicle. In the budget speech this afternoon, I look forward to further unpacking how Infrastructure South Africa will turbocharge infrastructure investment in the months ahead, and Ms. Masemola will touch on that in a moment. The agency has been hard at work across all fronts and all spheres to help realize the vision of turning South Africa into a construction site. This includes a groundbreaking new partnership and initiative with Agri-SA and Agri-Biz to address the deteriorating condition of South Africa's road network to guarantee food security for our country. This initiative will follow a data-driven approach, with the primary outcome being the identification of priority roads that require upgrading based on actual agricultural distribution. These projects will then be packaged to raise funding and support for the implementation, and we will use the Free State as a pilot site for this work stream under Strategic Integrated Projects for Agri-Logistics, or SIP 11. With regards to lifestyle audits, alongside fixing physical infrastructure, we are also cleaning up our internal systems. Trust in public institutions depend on the public's belief that we hold ourselves accountable for the work that we do. One of these mechanisms is through lifestyle audits, and on these audits, we have completed 48 senior managers so far. We have now launched a wider process focusing on 400 high-risk officials across finance, ICT, procurement, leases, and construction projects. The first batch of 69 audits began in March of this year and will be finalized by September this year. The next batch will follow on then to March 2026, with the remainder being completed by March 2027. These audits are being conducted independently in partnership with the SIU and include asset verification as well. We are also reviewing the ghost employee phenomenon that I suspect we are subjected to. Our anti-corruption unit is finalizing against our personal system through an audit across both the department and EPWP to detect any fictitious employees drawing salaries without working. With the help of interns, we conducted physical verification, ensuring that every person on our payroll actually exists, works, and contributes to the department. In short, every person had to verify themselves either at an office location or online against their ID documents, so that we actually made sure that those people exist. This is painstaking work, but it is necessary, and we must ensure that we have a competent and present workforce to achieve our goals. With regards to EPWP, this is one of the largest public employment programs in the country. Over the last 20 years, it has served as an important poverty alleviation tool for our communities. However, we think that the time has come that it progresses to its next iteration, which is focused on skills and opportunity for permanent employment. From September 2024 to present, I've led a national EPWP listening tour, meeting with workers, implementers, NGOs, provincial governments, and local municipalities. 4 provinces have been completed so far, with the remaining scheduled for the end of this year. All too often, I have heard from participants and community members that the program has become associated with political patronage, irregular recruitment, and gatekeeping. There is a lack of transparency in how people are appointed, which creates frustration and tensions in our communities. Often, municipalities are not equipped to be able to execute the program, and we have in some instances had to stop transfers to those municipalities that do not comply with audit and financial controls. Our view, therefore, is that EPWP must be refocused around transparency, training, and opportunity. Our vision for EPWP includes longer project durations, allowing for real skill development, fairer compensation, enterprise development and support for EPWP graduates starting small businesses, monitoring the impact of constructed assets and their value to communities, a pilot biometric attendance system to improve accountability and recruitment. We will be taking the human interface out of recruitment away from EPWP, which causes so much tension, as well as greater alignment between national and provincial departments, especially for maintenance and infrastructure projects. And lastly, a new partnership with the Harambee Youth Accelerator, focusing on skills pipelines in renewable energy and maintenance sectors. Our aim, ladies and gentlemen, is to ensure that EPWP participants exit the program with more opportunity than when they first entered it, and with a certificate, a skill, or a viable economic path, not just a stipend and a memory. I want to touch on the George building collapse, and I also want to do so with a somber reflection on this national tragedy which befell us last year. The collapse of a 5-story building in George on the 6th of May claimed 34 lives and injured many more. On the 2nd of June, I received the final report from the Council of the Built Environment in South Africa. It details a pattern of preventable errors, regulatory failures, and professional negligence. When I received the report, I committed to do 3 things. 1 was to study it thoroughly. 2 was to ensure that the findings are actioned and acted upon. And 3 was to personally present it to the affected families. That visit was scheduled for this coming Saturday, but due to the funeral of former Deputy President David Mabuza, I'll be now meeting with the families in George the following Saturday, the 19th of July. The Council for the Built Environment and the Engineering Council of South Africa will also brief the public on the outcome of these reports at the conclusion of our meeting with the families. I do, however, want to caution some political parties who are determined, in my view, to sink the investigation that will hold people responsible for demanding reports that the police have asked us to handle with care for fear of risking the investigation. While you may get a headline here and there and a TV interview, I appeal to those political parties to please put the families first and the pursuit of justice instead of your own narrow interests. I can assure the public that the families that I have met with in George support our approach and endorse it. And in often case, they don't even know who some of these people are that speak on their behalf or through political parties. We will do what is right because we want to see people held accountable for the deaths of 34 construction workers. I will also be taking a report to Cabinet in due course on the findings and recommendations so that we tighten up our laws and regulation to prevent this disaster from ever happening again, because the reality is that it was entirely preventable. Accountability cannot be optional when lives are lost due to human error. Ladies and gentlemen, this past year has not been easy, but it has been incredibly rewarding. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, in my view, is in better shape today than it was 12 months ago. And that's not to say that it's perfect, but we are on the right track. And the exciting thing is that we're only just beginning. This afternoon, I will table our budget vote to Parliament, and I will outline our next chapter focused on 5 key pillars: fighting corruption and strengthening governance, accelerating infrastructure delivery, restructuring our asset management systems, reforming the EPWP program, and driving digitization across our department. I've often said that becoming a minister was the most difficult job I've ever had, and I've had a few difficult jobs in my life, but it has also been the most rewarding job that I've ever had. I want to take this moment to express my deepest appreciation to the team that has walked this path with me, particularly the man on my right, the DG. Thank you for your steadfast leadership and your unwavering commitment to public service and to the department. Over the past year, you have been instrumental in helping to reimagine this department, not as a relic of bureaucracy, but as a dynamic vehicle for economic delivery. Your dedication to governance, reform, and your support of our strategic vision has been invaluable. To Ms. Masimola, on my left, our Acting Head of Infrastructure South Africa, thank you for helping us to cultivate a renewed national passion for infrastructure. Under your stewardship and leadership, ISA is becoming the engine room for high-impact infrastructure projects capable of attracting investment and transforming communities. That is seen by the phenomenal success that we had at SIDS SA a few weeks ago, and Momensi will touch on that. Your technical insight, collaborative spirit, and ability to think boldly about South Africa's potential has set a new standard. And to the entire Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and my personal office, I want to say thank you very much for your dedication to building a better South Africa.